Joining us now in studio, Tom Fitton, the president of Judicial Watch. Tom, good morning.
Good morning, Mary.
Thank you for coming in. We do appreciate it when you join us in person.
You're welcome.
All right, so the first thing we have to start out with, I've been telling everyone all morning you're going to be joining us to talk about this because Judicial Watch did what they do, and they got more records through fighting for FOIA requests, and you finally got some information. You got 73 pages on Andrew Weissman. And we found out some interesting things from this. In particular, what I saw was that Weissman was in charge of hiring the staff, the people who are going to investigate on Mueller's team. Why would he do that and not Robert Mueller?
Well, he was Mueller's #1 prosecutor on the team, so he was his top deputy. He's called Mueller's pit bull. And now the documents show, which we asked for, by the way, almost a year ago. So it took a year plus a lawsuit in order to get this basic information. It shows that he was doing the hiring, which may not be unusual, but it helps explain why did Mr. Mueller hire all these Democrat partisans to target President Trump if he's trying to run a special counsel investigation that's supposed to raise people's faith in the fair administration of justice. Well, Mr. Weissman is hiring all these people, and it turns out a bunch of them, or at least he's interviewing them, they were all ultimately hired, at least the ones that we highlighted, were all Democrat donors. Mr. Andrew Goldstein happened to give $3,300 to Obama's campaigns in 2008, 2012. He became a top prosecutor for Mueller. Weissman interviewed Kyle Freeney, who also gave $500 to Obama's presidential campaign and $250 to Hillary Clinton's. She later was detailed to the Mueller investigation. She also had worked at the DOJ money laundering section, so she came in from over there. Rush Atkinson gave $200 to Clinton's campaign in 2016, a registered Democrat. Hired by Mr. Weissman. So the question has been answered in part. Why did Mueller hire all these Democrats? Well, because he didn't do it. He turned it over, it looks like, to Andrew Weissman, a very controversial figure. We had received documents previously showing he was an anti-Trump activist. He sent a nice email to Sally Yates, the Obama holdover, for thwarting lawlessly president's efforts to install the travel ban initially. And then he went to Hillary Clinton's election night party the night she lost in New York. This is the guy who was running Mueller's shop.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. Every time I think of Weissman, I'm like, this was the guy who was ready to celebrate Hillary Clinton's victory. And we know how much of this investigation into Trump was predicated on Democratic National Committee opposition research, thanks in no small part to places like Judicial Watch, who has ferreted out information about this. So, Tom, when I look at this, one of the other things I think about is Peter Strzok got fired from the Mueller team. And the reason we're told by Strzok that he got fired was the appearance of bias because of his text messages against Donald Trump. But ever since then, these text messages add a little bit more color, and these calendars add a little more color to our understanding. But we've always known that a whole bunch of Hillary Clinton donors and a guy who was at Hillary Clinton's election night party worked on Mueller's team. Why? How could one man be fired for the appearance of bias, and then the rest of the team still have the appearance of bias but continue to work for Mueller?
I'm so proud and in awe. Thank you so much. All my deepest respects. That was the email that he sent to the anti-Trumper Sally Yates, the Obama holdover, and that was uncovered in December of 2017.
Right.
Someone like Andrew Weissman should never have been anywhere near a special counsel investigation, and he was known for his aggressive prosecutorial conduct previously. And on top of that, so he's got the raids on Manafort that were so controversial, the raid on Roger Stone that was so controversial, and the kind of scorched earth policy they had in, as we highlight here, imposing the Foreign Agents Registration Act by turning what had been prosecuted or handled as an administrative issue into an effort, into a law that was used to start putting people in jail all of a sudden, simply because it looked like to a lot of people, because the people being targeted were close to President Trump.
Well, you mentioned FARA, the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Very early on, within a week of him being appointed to the council, he had a meeting with FARA counsel, and I wanted to know if this is unusual. On Thanksgiving Day, he convened a Team Manafort meeting. On Christmas Day, he held a Team Manafort meeting, and on New Year's Day, he held a Team Manafort meeting.
Well, we know what his favorite holiday topic was.
Is that something that they usually do? They have meetings on those big holidays?
I don't know. Wonderful boss, though, isn't it?
He just want to give them fodder for Thanksgiving Day conversation.
Yeah. Look, Andrew Weissman is the reason we have this outrageous Mueller report. It's the reason they abused the rule of law, in my view, to target President Trump with this harassing investigation.
Have you sent requests in on the authorship of the Mueller report, or the process by which that report was assembled?
Oh, you betcha. One thing that we want to know is when did Mueller's team know there was no collusion, and why did they allow the investigation to continue nevertheless? Right. And all the evidence is it's at least a year plus.
And how much did Weissman play a role in constructing Part 2 of the Mueller report, which is the sort of the obstruction feeling of scandal that the press is still using to have swirl around the President of the United States? That's by design. I mean, that was the Mueller report comes out, and that was meant to damage the president. How much of a role did Weissman have in actually constructing that portion of the report?
Well, it was kind of a report written with some desperation, full of legal higgle-piggle, full of gossip.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth the paper it was written on.
All right, less higgle-piggle, more details straight ahead with Tom Fitton.
And they want to look at how that whole hoax got started. It was a hoax. And even Mueller, not a friend of mine, even Bob Mueller came out, no collusion. And he had 18 people that didn't like Donald Trump. They were Hillary Clinton fans. They contributed, many of them, to Hillary Clinton. They came out. It was the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on the people of this country. And you know what? I am so proud of our Attorney General that he is looking into it. I think it's great.
The president yesterday reacting to news that the Attorney General William Barr has assigned U.S. Attorney John Durham to investigate the origins of the Russia investigation. Here in studio with us, Tom Fitton, the president of Judicial Watch. Tom, he's been at this for a couple of weeks now. Is this a good decision on Barr's part? Do you like John Durham?
He seems like a competent U.S. attorney. I'm glad there's no special prosecutor. We need prosecutions, not special prosecutors. A special prosecutor would mean it would go on for years as opposed to a few months. So it's good that there's a U.S. attorney with significant experience in investigating government corruption issues. He investigated the Whitey Bulger scandal up in Boston. And this is the most serious political corruption scandal in American history, the illicit targeting of President Trump. There needs to be a criminal investigation of people like Peter Strzok, James Comey, Andrew McCabe, other people in the CIA and elsewhere that evidently misused their political positions or their positions of public trust for political purposes to target President Trump. The president, to me, is a crime victim. And you betcha there needs to be an investigation, especially given this Mueller report that shows there was never any good reason to begin looking at him to begin with. What an abuse of power by this government. The least they can do is have a U.S. attorney start sniffing around.
Do you have a clear sense of the delineation of the tasks between John Huber, who's in Utah, and John Durham, the U.S. attorney in Connecticut? Because we've been hearing about Huber for a while. I'm not sure what he's doing, but I thought the whole point of Huber's appointment was to look into the beginnings of the investigation into the Trump campaign. What is your understanding of that division?
I always thought the point of the Huber appointment was to deflect and take out the political reasons for appointing a special prosecutor at that time. They didn't want to appoint a special prosecutor to target Hillary Clinton or the origins of the anti-Trump effort, so they appointed this guy out in Utah, and he was appointed to investigate whether to investigate. So I've never thought much of the appointment to begin with.
So it was kind of Sessions' way of appointing like a blue ribbon commission, just like we're not actually going to deal with the problem, we'll just pretend?
Yeah, everyone's calling for a special prosecutor. I'll appoint this guy out in Utah and take the pressure off.
Oh, so we shouldn't be looking forward to this as much as I thought we should be looking forward to.
Well, maybe he's actually done some sort of analysis saying, hey, you need to look at this more carefully.
Yeah, right.
Which I guess would be better than nothing.
But when Congress actually asked for information, they didn't cough anything up.
Yeah.
So you never know.
I don't know. Once again, Tom, you take me on an emotional roller coaster. I come in here when you walk in, I have such hopes and dreams, and here you go.
And then you dash them?
Now you dash them. I'm just saying, it's not fair.
Well, it's a positive development. The president's right to be pleased that there is finally a competent U.S. attorney. I don't want to overstate whether anything will happen, but my gosh, well, at least the process is in place for something to happen.
Tom Fitton, thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate it.